Yo, what's up, family? Before we start the video, please give a like, subscribe, and share to any and everyone that you can. Just out there a little bit more. With that being said, let's get right into the video. And this is my official prediction video for the Celtics and Mavs series. I'm sorry, I know I haven't been uploading these past couple of days. I've been thinking of shit to post, but I haven't found anything substantial. And just like y'all, man, I've been waiting for this damn series to start. So we officially got the first game tomorrow, Thursday, and then we got 2 or 3 days in between the next game. It's just a lot of shit, but y'all will have a lot of content in between these games. Like, I'm talking 3 or 4 videos between game 1, game 2, and so forth, right? So I will keep you guys posted on that. Yeah, so I'm gonna be going down a list of some things that I have. Of course, I got my little, I have a first look on this series, which is a way more in detail look of something of some of the things I'm gonna be talking about today before I get my prediction. So if you haven't seen that, I'm gonna put that here or here so you can watch that. But yeah, let's get right into it. So the first thing I have is Porzingis news. Porzingis will be playing in game 1. He has not played since round 1. So the good news is he's playing, right? But if you watch the interview, so he spoke to the media at practice yesterday. This was the first time he had like an actual presser in a long time. And they asked him, was he playing? He was like, yeah, that's a plan. But he didn't sound sure when he had a couple questions. So there was a question where they asked him, are you 100%? And he was like, we'll see. Not the greatest answer, not what you want to hear, but hey, that's fine. And he was like, yeah, we'll see. I still have a couple more days and we'll see then. So he's not 100%. Then there was another question of, are you pain free? So like, if you're at practice, you're jogging, you're running, you're cutting, they asked him, are you pain free? He paused for about 15 to 20 seconds and then said yes. Not the best answer. I'm not being negative. It's just not what you want to hear. It just didn't make me feel good that he hesitated for so long and then said yes. If he was just like, yeah, I'm good, I'd have felt so much better. But you know, it is what it is. So again, it's just he's so important to what we have to do in this series with bigs like Lively and Gafford and shit like that, protecting the rim. His spacing always goes beyond the 3-point line. Like, he's a foot or two beyond the 3-point line a lot of times when he shoots the ball. Him just being there, not just being there, like, he has to be effective, but also his presence is huge for the opposing team center and just the opposing team in general, and for our team, of course. And yeah, so he just didn't seem too sure of himself. And a point that I heard on the Garden Reports, a podcast, shout out to y'all, is maybe he's not as confident as his body is healthy. So he is a guy that's had a lot of injuries in the past, and there's probably some times where he thought he was okay and it ended up that he came back too early. So there definitely is a world where Kristaps has checked all the boxes physically, but he's just not confident mentally, and he's just so cautious of not getting hurt again, which is fine. And what that makes me think, especially from the answers that he gave in the presser, is that if this was round 1, he wouldn't be playing. And just like any NBA player, anybody that plays, or just any NBA player, they want to be a part of the finals. So he's going out there solely because this is the finals. And he's not 100%. I think he's like 60 to 75. And he's playing because this is the finals. You don't know as a player if this is your last time ever at this point. It is super hard to get to this point. And for him to be on a team that didn't need him up to this point, I feel like as a player, there's some pride there. It's like, hey, man, like, it's not selfish. It's just like, hey, I am a part of this team and they've gone this far without me. I'm grateful that they have this, but I need to show why I'm a part of this team. And to be honest, I don't even think that's selfish. I just think that's him truly being a part of this team and wanting to be a part of this championship run. So the next thing is the matchups. Again, in my first look video, I did a way more in-depth look at the matchups and stuff. Is KP gonna be on the wings again? PJ Washington or Derrick Jones Jr. in the first game? Well, sorry, in the second game that they played in the regular season, which was March 1st, PJ shot 16 shots. So KP was guarding him, and the Mavericks had an intention to put KP in the pick and rolls. Their most effective pick and roll partners are, of course, like a Lively or a Gafford. And so putting KP on PJ, if they're trying to attack KP, you're forcing PJ into a lot of pick and rolls, right? And it can still work. But what KP was doing is that when they did the pick and rolls, if PJ popped, he just would not check him. Like, he just would not leave him. He would help on Luka or Kyrie. We allow PJ to shoot all those threes. And now this is not to say that PJ is a bad player. He has games where he has been on a heater from 3, and he's been good this entire postseason from 3. And there will most likely be a game or two where PJ hits 4 or 5 threes, but the question that I'll get into later in the video is that enough to deter Joe from his game plan? So we'll talk about that too. So the next one is JB/Drew on Luka. In the March 1st game, Jalen started on Luka, and I think he's a guy that will take that challenge. But I don't think the matchups will play a huge part as I once thought it was, because there's going to be so much switching, and it's not just the Celtics switching onto like Kyrie and Luka. It's the Mavericks trying to run their double drag action to get somebody switched on him. So even though I think that's true, I think JB will be on Luka depending on the moment. So the first quarter where the Celtics are trying to set a tone, I think JB will be on Luka. In between the games, because Jalen has a lot on the offensive side, I think we'll have some Drew on him. Don't think Derek will check him a lot just because he's lighter. Maybe we see some Tatum too down the line. But in the first quarter and like crunch time, if the game gets to that in the fourth quarter, I think JB will be on Luka. And I think Drew will probably have some of the lesser offensive guys. So if KP is guarding PJ, he'll be on Derrick Jones Jr. If KP is guarding Derrick Jones Jr., he'll be on PJ. And I think Derek White is on Kyrie. Now, there is a world where JB is on Kyrie, just to put some size on Kyrie, like some strength and size on Kyrie. And JT, when we played the Mavericks on March 1st, he was on the center. So again, that is to just easily switch that. Now, the problem with that is, you know, if they do go to that with Gafford Lively, it could be an easy lob because you're bringing KP out with him on PJ. He's not in the paint. He's the guy that is best suited to guard those lobs with his length and his athleticism, and that could allow an offensive rebound. So if KP again is on PJ, so if Lively rolls and the Celtics do a great job on the pick and roll handler, your job's not done because now Lively's crashing to the rim against your smalls. So again, we'll talk about this later, but how many offensive rebounds will force Joe to switch his approach? So for the Mavericks, you got PJ or Derrick Jones Jr. on Tatum and Brown. Which one will be on who? To the Celtics, I don't think it fucking matters. Like, if you're the Mavericks, it's whoever your strongest guy is, you put him on Jaylen Brown. Because, again, I've said this a lot of times, Brown is the more deliberate scorer, and he's going to attack the rim more than JT will. I think JT's the more talented guy. And, of course, we've seen in the last series where Brown got ECF MVP, Tatum still averaged 30, 10, and 6. So, if these guys can both do their damn thing, it's going to be really tough for the Mavericks. And who do Kyrie and Luka guard, right? We saw in the last series, the Pacers had Tyrese Halliburton on Drew Holiday. What did Drew Holiday do? He went right to the post, went right to work. Got a lot of clutch and ones, putting his shoulder into Halliburton and bigger guys on the Pacers team. Same thing with the Cavs series. You have Garland on you. Garland cannot check you in the post. He's just not strong enough. So if Luka is on Drew, I believe the post game is a little bit hard because, of course, he's taller, he's stronger. Drew can really still make Luka move. And if Kyrie's on Derek White has to be able to score. Again, Kyrie and Luka have been better defensively in this playoff series, but I don't think they're so much better to where they're stoppers now. I genuinely have people on Twitter trying to tell me that Luka is a better defender than Tatum this postseason, just because of his numbers. I don't think that's how that works, bro. I really don't think that's how that works. How much will Lively/Gafford adjust to KP spacing? Again, it's not just 3-point line spacing. He's spacing from about 28, 29 feet sometimes. Their first instinct as guys that protect the rim, they're trying to help on drives. And we saw that in the March 1st game where they're trying to creep over and KP just left open, hitting 3 threes in the first quarter. Thing I'm most interested in for the Mavericks is rotations. What will the Mavs bench look like? Is it some THJ? Is it a stint for THJ? And if he hits 2 out of 3 threes, does he get a longer leash? And I kind of want the Celtics to but if Tim Hardaway hits his first 2 out of his first threes, I think Kid keeps him in for a little bit longer. And that just makes it a guy that we can go at on the other side. So of course you don't want a guy to score, but sometimes it is fool's gold. There's been a lot of games where Tatum hits like his first 2 threes and then he shoots 8 after that because he thinks it's time to cook from 3. Kleber. Now in the March 1st game, it's not the perfect thing to translate over to the finals because Derrick Jones Jr. did not hit his stride yet. He only played like 7 minutes. And something else that I thought was interesting is that Gafford only played 6 minutes. Now, people try to say this like it's the same as the Derrick Jones Jr. one. I don't think it is. I think Jason Kidd, he made a decision to sit Gafford because this wasn't a good matchup for him. I think he got played off the floor. Yes, Lively was starting, but at that time, Gafford was still, I didn't hear of an injury prior to this or during the broadcast. So there was some injury that I didn't hear of. I'm wrong. But in the game, Gafford had his stint and it wasn't good. He had the lowest plus minus from that point, right? And Kidd played Kleber 20 minutes because Kleber is a better switcher. He's a better perimeter defender. He's more versatile. And he's a guy that can stretch the floor. I'm not saying that this will happen now. I am totally sure that Gafford will not play 6 minutes in the playoffs. Is it their normal 25 Gafford, 25 Lively, or do they sprinkle some Kleber in if he sees that, okay, we need this extra spacing with KP in the paint? Or is it, hey, Gafford's getting killed on switches. We need somebody who can guard the perimeter and slide his feet better than him. So it's interesting. Hardy has had his times in the playoffs, especially in that last series. How long of a stint does he have? Because I just think he's like a smaller Tim Hardaway as far as not play style. Well, yes, like play style, like he's a very offensive heavy dude. And he's a guy that the Celtics, even though he's probably not a horrible defender, I don't really know, but Hardy is offense first. And that's a guy the Celtics are going to go at. So again, if he's hitting shots, his stint is going to be longer. How will Kidd handle Luka/Kyrie switch onto the Jays? So in the March 1st game, Tatum only took 1 shot on Kyrie and Luka each, because every time he got switched onto them, they helped. They sent 2, which put them into rotation. The Celtics had 33 assists in that game, I believe, and they shot 21 for 40 from 3. A lot of that was because they're sending 2 and the Celtics are whipping the ball around the court, getting easy shots because they're moving it faster, because the ball moves faster than the man, of course. So if you swing it and you keep forcing those rotations, someone's going to be open in the long run. And the last thing I have on this is the Mavericks do go zone. They went zone against us on March 1st. They played some zone in the playoffs. They played as some against the Timberwolves. Will Jason Kidd go to that? The Celtics are not the team to go zone against. In the March 1st matchup, we killed the zone instantly. And then he went back to it in the second half. I hope he goes zone, because it looked so easy to decipher and to cut up for the Celtics in that second matchup with the Mavericks. So I hope he does. So now for the Celtics, again, oh yes, how will they manage KP stints? So of course, he's coming back from an injury, hasn't played since the first round. What are those intervals going to be like? How short or how small are those stints? And if he's effective, is he going to play longer in the first game? And if he's ineffective, how does Joe combat that? I think this will be a real challenge for Joe Mazzulla, trying to navigate KP's time, because of course he wants to play, but if he's ineffective, and there is a world where KP is ineffective. I just want to tell you guys that, like, he had a calf injury, I don't know. He had a calf injury, which is directly tied to your movement, your lateral movement, straight line, him showing and backing up in the pick and roll, trying to guard the 2 options. Like, that's a huge part of the series. It's his lateral quickness, his lateral movement, his ability to stay in those pick and rolls, and if he gets switched onto a Kyrie or Luka. That is a huge part of this series. Even though I think his presence is a lot to the other team and to us, of course, if he can't move laterally, is that a good thing? No. The second question is, who will be the second big off the bench, if there is one? So with KB coming back, I assume that he's starting. So if he starts, that means Al's the first pick off the bench. Do we see Tillman? In the March 1st game, Tillman was excellent. It was his first stint as a Celtic in actual rotational time, and he was phenomenal. Switching on to Luka, he was great on offense, finding holes in the defense and passing and finishing. And the switching really helps. It really helped in that game. This is the finals, so not sure if you're going to get some Tillman, but I think he bodes well for this series because the Mavs are a slower team. You know, they do have Kyrie and Luka. He was great in that March 1st game. I'm pretty sure they're seeing tape of that. I'm not pressed to get Tillman in the finals. I know this is where the stars shine, but I think this could be an okay matchup for Tillman. And plus, KB coming back, he's going to play less minutes than he did when he was healthy, of course. So We'll see how Joe navigates that. And something I think that's really interesting is how much Sam Hauser will play in this series. I think this series is better suited for Hauser just off the speed than the Pacers one. Again, the Mavericks are slower, but if Kyrie and Luka are having their way with Hauser and he misses his first 2 threes, I don't know what's gonna happen. I want to see if his leash is solely predicated on how many shots he hits, because in the March 1st game, the 2 people that Luka loved as far as going after was Pritchard and Sam Hauser. I believe Pritchard's time is safe. I believe his minutes can go down slightly, but I think he's safe. Hauser, I don't know, because he shot like 9% from 3 in the Pacers series. I don't know if he can get away with that in the finals, especially if Luka and Kyrie are torching him on the other side. And a huge question I have is, what is Joe's breaking point? So whatever plan, if it's drop with KP, you're leaving PJ open. How many threes does PJ have to hit for Joe to snap and be like, all right, let's get out of this shit? If the plan is to switch everything, how many times does Kyrie and Luke have to take advantage of Al Horford or KP for Joe to switch some shit? If Jason Tatum is on the centers, how many offensive rebounds or like crucial offensive rebounds would it take for Joe to be like, all right, we gotta change this shit too? So I just want to see what are some of these breaking points for Joe Mazzulla as far as these type of schemes and these game plans, and what he's willing to live with. And now for my X factors, I have PJ Washington for the Mavericks. Of course, it's Luka Doncic and Kyrie. They have to score efficiently. They have to take advantage, and they cannot be cones on the defensive side of the ball. But PJ Washington, if he has a 27-point game, if he has another 25-point game, or another 20 and 10 game, he has those performances in this playoff run. If he can give you 2 of those games, that is huge, bro. On the offensive side, again, I said that the Celtics had KP on him and they allowed him to shoot. If he burns us on that coverage, and if he's actually able to defend Jason Tatum at a great level, that changes the series. Because now, not only is he not somebody that you can help off of, which opens up the game for everybody like Kyrie and Luka, but now Tatum is struggling. And now Tatum might get back into those indecision type of plays of him, like, is he going to dunk it, is he going to lay it up, is he going to float it up, or is he going to pass it in the air? Or now PJ's being really physical with Tatum and he's talking to the refs, he's taking step back threes. So if PJ can play great on both sides of the ball, I think that could really change the series. And of course, for the Celtics, it's Kristaps Porzingis, right? If he is effective in this series, I don't think there's anything the Mavericks can do. I still think this is going to be a really competitive series, but if KP's on one, if he's 80% of himself, I think that's enough. I really think that's enough to get it done. And on the flip side, again, if KP's lateral quickness is shot and his shot is rusty and he's just not as effective as he once was, I think that presents challenge for, of course, the Celtics. That helps the Mavericks, and it presents a challenge to Joe Mazzulla. If he looks horrible in the first 2 games, is it okay? Do I start Al Horford in game 3? Do I completely cut his stints in half? Like, how do we go about if Kristaps just looks bad? Which can happen. He hasn't played in a long time. That's just normal. I don't think he's going to look bad, though. I don't think so. We had to prepare for the worst. So there's just a lot of questions that have to be asked if that happens. I really hope it doesn't happen. So now, what you've been waiting for, my prediction, I have the Celtics in 6. And this, of course, will be the hardest series. This is the best team the Celtics have played. This is also the best team the Mavericks have played. I'm giving a game to Luka Doncic, out of respect. You got to give a game to Luka. There will be a game where there's nothing you can do. There might be multiple games where there's something you can't do. But I think there's one of those games where he'll have 40 points and 10 assists, and he's accounted for 60 to 70% of the Mavericks' points. And the Celtics didn't have a great game offensively because the Mavericks are a good defensive team. They lose that game. Also, I just think the Mavericks are a good team, right? I just think they're a good team. So they have a legit defense, which I think the Celtics can, of course, like the Mavericks haven't played a team like the Celtics yet, with 5 guys on the floor at all times who can shoot the 3, who can drive, who can pass. They have to adjust, of course, from playing the Timberwolves, who at some points had Kyle Anderson and Rudy Gobert on the floor at the same time. Lively, it was just in Rome heaven. Gafford and Lively were in Rome heaven with Anthony Edwards with the ball in his hands and Kyle Anderson standing right here and Rudy Gobert standing right here. The Celtics have no shuts lineups. I think Joe would rather pass out than to have 2 people who can't shoot. And yeah, that's just what I feel. I think Tatum and Brown will have a great series. Again, the X factor is PJ can swing a game. I think Derrick Jones Jr. can also swing a game. But KP for us, of course, Tatum Brown, I don't have to say a lot about that. They have to play great. We go as far as they go, specifically Tatum. But that is the video. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like, subscribe, and share any and everyone that you can. Just out there a little bit more. I will see you guys in the next video. This is Nick. Peace.